Hello and welcome to this episode of the International Daily Roundup. Our first story is from Bolivia, where we're speaking about how people continue to remain on the streets against a civic and military coup against the democratically elected President Evo Morales. On November 17th, thousands of Bolivians marched in support of the ousted president and demanded the immediate resignation of the self-proclaimed president Janine Áñez. In the capital La Paz, as well as in the cities of El Alto and Sacaba, among others, thousands demonstrated against a massacre in Cochabamba, in which 12 protesters were killed by the security forces and hundreds were gravely injured. The protesters demanded the fascist, racist and illegitimate government of Áñez withdraw the supreme decree that has granted impunity to the security forces for their crimes. According to the decree, soldiers participating in the operations for the restoration of order and public stability will be exempt from the criminal liability when in compliance with their constitutional functions, as they act in self-defense or in the state of need. The order also allows the army to use extreme force. The legislators of the Morales Party, which is the Movement Towards Socialism or the MAS, said that the decree granted the army almost a license to kill. Protests in solidarity with Morales also took place in Brazil and in Peru. Moving on, Sri Lanka may face difficult times as Gotabaya Rajapaksha is sworn in as the new president of the country. The 70-year-old brother of the controversial former president Mahinda Rajapaksha won the presidential election on Saturday, obtaining 52.25% of the total vote, while his rival, which is Sajith Premadasa, got 41.99% of the votes. Rajapaksha belongs to the Sri Lanka People's Party, which was founded by his brother in 2016. Rajapaksha won mainly because of the strength of the strong support for him in the Sinhala-dominated regions, while the areas which are dominated by the minorities voted against him. Gotabaya will be the first military officer to become the president of the country. He was the defense secretary under the reign of his brother Mahinda Rajapaksha during the brutal final stages of the war against the LTTE in the country. The Sri Lankan military had killed over 40,000 people, including innumerable civilians. Hundreds of thousands more were displaced and large-scale human rights violations also took place. The crackdown continued even after the war as the Tamil people of the country faced great hardship and were treated as second-class citizens in their own country. Gotabaya is also believed to be responsible for the crackdown on journalists. A police report said that he was the head of the death squad that had targeted journalists and also dissidents in the country. He was accused of being involved in the murder of the newspaper editor La Santa Vikramatunge in 2009. Following Gotabaya's victory, the situation of the current government looks weak, although Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's term will continue until February 2020. This victory of Rajapaksha marks the end to the experiment of 2014 when various sections of the Sri Lankan polity came together to overthrow the Mahinda Rajapaksha regime, which had been in power for 10 years. Over 70% of Venice was submerged over the past week following a massive tidal wave. 3 rounds of flooding rocked the city, causing losses worth nearly $1 billion. The local.Italy reported that the shopkeepers on the Grand Canal raged against those in the authority who have failed to protect the city from high tide, and also blaming corruption for the delays to the barrier protection system, which could have actually prevented the disaster. These recurring floods have been generally understood as a fallout of climate change, but many also blame an unscientific exploitative development model which is driven by the idea of maximizing profits. Ironically, the chambers of the Regional Council also got flooded just a while after its members had voted to reject measures to battle climate change. No Grandi, Navi and Fridays for Future Venice have given a call for a General Assembly on November 23rd towards organizing a massive protest gathering on November 30th in the Piazza to raise the concerns of Venetians and their demands to safeguard their lives and also their city. And with that, it's a wrap on this episode of the International Roundup. To keep following these stories, our videos and many more updates, log on to www.peoplesdispatch.org. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Thank you for watching.